Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rechak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Proverbs, the 10th chapter. It says contrast of the righteous and the wicked. The Proverbs of Solomon: a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Right. So, pretty self-explanatory, right? If you are a wise son, you're going to make your father proud and glad because you're going to be obedient to the things that you're instructed. You're going to keep those things. You're going to, be a respectful and you're going to bring glory and not shame to your family or to your house. But a foolish son, right? One that is disobedient, one that is hard-headed, one that is going astray from what they've been taught and raised up in, is the heaviness or the stress or the trouble of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. And why is that? Because, if you gain treasure through wickedness, for the time being, it may feel good. It may feel like, it's a quick win, a nice get rich quick scheme, and it's profitable, but it's really not, because in the long run, it's going to work against you. Even if man does not see it, there's one judge in heaven that has taken note of that. And before long, you're going to lose those treasures along with yourself in your life. But righteousness delivereth from death. That's also in Proverbs 11. Proverbs 11 and 4. Because through righteous acts, if you live a righteous life, if you walk down a righteous path, there are many occasions where you may face a life or death situation, and the Lord will deliver you from it because of your righteousness. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. When famish here is like to be without. Okay, to be hungry, voracious, to allow one to be hungry. The Lord is not going to have that that kind of suffering come upon the righteous, the soul of the righteous. In Ecclesiasticus, the 2nd chapter, also describes that. But he casteth away the substance of the wicked. See, the things, the increase that the wicked have, the Lord is going to reduce that. He's going to diminish that. So once again, that's the contrast between the righteous and the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent shall make rich. A slack hand is one that is like lazy, okay, not hardworking. You're going to become poor because you're going to lose. If you're, for example, you sow sparingly when it's time to plant, what kind of harvest do you think you're going to have, right? But if you work diligently, in Ecclesiastes it says, sow in the morning and also in the evening withhold not thine hand, because you don't know which will prosper. Maybe the one in the morning or the one that you did in the evening, or maybe both. See, so the diligent hand maketh rich, because you're working hard, you're working diligently. But he that gathereth in summer, he that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. Because during the summer, during the time of the harvest, you're gathering, you're laboring, right? And you're a wise son because you're taking advantage of the time and the season and gathering into your barns or into your storehouses what it is that you've worked hard for. But he that sleepeth, which is a slothful person, is a son that causeth shame. You bring shame and stress, like we read in the first verse, heaviness of the mother, or to your mother. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. Let's take a look at that in the NLT. It says, the godly are showered with blessings. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. See, we remember the just, the righteous, in a good light, but the wicked is like something that's rotten. It's like a bad name. Okay, it's not desirable. Verse 8, the wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. Let's look at that word prat, or prating. To talk foolishly or at tedious length about something. So you just go on and on and on and on, and you're not really making sense. What you're saying is not really edifying. So as it says here, the wise in heart will receive commandments, right? They'll when you receive something, you take it in, right, and you benefit from it. But the prating fool, right, who speaks foolishly shall fall, because they're not going to receive commandments or instructions, and instead they're just going to, be wise in their own conceits, and eventually they're going to fall, right? Because all of us need to learn at some point, right? You need to be instructed in the right things to do. But one that will not receive such instruction, what is going to happen to them? One way or another, they're going to meet their demise. So it says here, verse 9, he that walketh uprightly walketh surely. So if you walk or you live in righteousness uprightly with integrity, then you're walking surely, right? Like your path is confirmed. Okay, it's protected by the Lord. So you're sure, okay, that this person is good. But he that perverteth his ways shall be known. It says here, people with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked paths will slip and fall. Okay. NIV, whosoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whosoever takes crooked paths will be found out. He that winketh with the eye causeth sorrow, but a prating fool shall fall. Let's go into that word. And in verse 9, the the known is to be exposed. NLT says, people who wink at wrong cause trouble, but a bold reproof promotes peace. Okay, NIV, like if you wink, it's like you overlook, right? So whosoever winks maliciously causes grief, and a chattering fool comes to ruin. So it says here, but a prating fool shall fall, right? A chattering fool, we went into that word prat, as it says, shall fall, right? And fall to what? Fall to ruin. Like the scriptures say how the Lord winked at our ignorance, so he overlooked it. But here this is talking about what kind of winking will cause sorrow? Winking at wickedness, but not in the sense of to pervert justice. Verse 11, the mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked, right? Like sort of like we read up above. Violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. So the mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, because they're going to know what to say, when to say, and how to say it, to where it's helpful and beneficial to those that are around them and themselves, like a well of life, right? They always know the right thing to say that helps you. But violence covereth the mouth of the wicked, meaning that's all that comes out of their mouth, right? It's something, and violence isn't always in the sense of like, physical altercation, right? But it's something that is it leads to ruin. That's what comes out of their mouth. So that's both their intention, and whether it's advice or whatever comes, whatever comes out of their mouth, which comes out of really their mind, as Yahushua said, right? It is not what goeth into a man, but what cometh out of him that defileth him. Hatred stirreth up strifes, but love covereth all sins, right? And hatred does stir up strifes. That's how, like, for example, you look in a carnal sense, people that hate each other seek an occasion to cause, to stir up one another. Somebody says something, the other person that hates them is around, and that's why they can't be around each other, right? It's not. It wasn't even about them, but they'll make it about them. To what? To stir up strife. But love covereth all sins. All right, let's read that in the NLT. Hatred stirs up quarrels, but love makes up for all offenses. See, it's kind of like fighting fire with water. In the lips of him that hath understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. So, the words of one that has understanding are wisdom, right? Wisdom shows forth out of those words. But a rod, which is, basically like a stick that's used for correction, you beat somebody with it, that was made for the back of him that is void of understanding. Because him that is void of understanding, they're going to do things that are lacking in understanding that is going to earn them that punishment. So you correct those kinds of people with a rod. Wise men lay up knowledge, right? They store it up like treasure. But the mouth of the foolish is near destruction. Why is that? Because a fool does not read the room, right? A fool does not, it's like saying they're one step away from destruction because they don't know how to control their mouth. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty. Okay? So a rich man's wealth is what protects him, it's what defends him like a strong city. But as it says, the destruction of the poor is their poverty. Let's take a look at that. In the NLT, it says, the wealth of the rich is their fortress. The poverty of the poor is their destruction. It's just reworded, okay? Because, poverty brings ruin, so that's what's likened onto, being their destruction because they don't have enough, right? That's what puts them out on the street, right? That's what has them have to go and beg for food because of that poverty. And if you think of them both like two cities, because of the lacking of one, that's what causes their city to be broken down, as to where the riches of another is what strengthens his city. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life. The fruit of the wicked is to sin. So the righteous labor for what? For things that promote life. Ultimately, because they follow the ways of the Heavenly Father, who is the giver of life. So the labor or the work of the righteous leads to or tends to life. But the fruit or the outcome of the wicked is to sin. He is in the way of life that keepeth instruction. So those that keep the instruction or discipline of wisdom, correct instruction, they will move or live in the way of life. But he that refuseth reproof erreth, right? So they go off, they go astray. He that hideth hatred with lying lips, and he that uttereth a slander is a fool. Because one that hides hatred with lying lips eventually will not be able to hide hatred with wicked actions. Okay, and the scriptures tell you about, if you have an issue with somebody, basically squashing that, right? Not letting the sun go down on your wrath. And he that uttereth a slander is a fool. In the multitude of words, there wanteth not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. When it says wanteth, it means sin is not lacking where there's a multitude of words. So you have to be careful, right? Don't be saying too much, because the more you say, the greater there is a chance that something is going to slip out that shouldn't. So as it's saying, it's like sin is closely tied where there's a great multitude of words. Too much is being said. But he that refraineth his lips is wise, right? One that controls, his tongue, that controls his words, doesn't speak too much, is wise. The tongue of the just is as choice silver. So it's valuable, right? Meaning the words of the righteous are like choice silver. So what's one example of that? You're in a situation, you find yourself in a hard position, and you need advice, right? You need counsel. And you go and you speak to somebody, and let's say this is a just man. They can tell you what would be a wise thing to do in that situation. And that advice they give you can actually deliver you from death or prevent you a whole lot of hurt. And when you experience that by following the instruction that was given to you, you'll see just how valuable that was, as opposed to if they just gave you money, for example. Because if somebody gives you money and doesn't explain to you how to best use it, what's the point in that? You're going to lose it and go back right back to square one. So sometimes, the words of the just can be more valuable than money. The heart of the wicked is little, is little worth, right? The mind or the thoughts of the wicked is worth but little, but the tongue of the just, as it says, is worth more, right? Like choice silver. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for want of wisdom. And like we're likened onto the righteous in this stead, right? So the lips, the lips are not your literal lips. It's talking about your words. The words of the righteous feed many, right? Spiritually speaking, the things they say are like food for thought, and they benefit. Just like food nourishes your body and benefits you, that's how the words of the righteous behaves. When it enters into the souls of many people, it's beneficial to a lot of people. For example, that's why you have these kinds of writings, right? Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, really all the scriptures. But these are words of the righteous, and it's beneficial to a lot of us. That's why the Lord had them preserved, right? But fools die for want or lack of wisdom. Through their lack of wisdom, they end up perishing. The blessing of the Lord Yahweh, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. You see that? There are no strings attached from the blessings of the Lord. And that riches, yes, you have carnal riches, but really the greater riches are in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And there is no sorrow attached to it. It is as sport to a fool to do mischief. So fools have fun doing mischief, like it's a sport, it's a pastime. But a man of understanding hath wisdom. The fear of the wicked, it shall come upon him, but the desire of the righteous shall be granted. So the thing that the wicked fear most, the Lord is going to bring that upon them as judgment. And if they continue in their wicked ways, but the desire of the righteous, right, the things that the righteous seek after, the Lord is going to grant that to them. As the whirlwind passeth, so is the wicked no more, but the righteous is an everlasting foundation. So it's basically saying, like, when disaster comes, right, likening that onto the whirlwind, the wicked are swept away with it, right? That's why the wicked is no more, but the righteous remain steady and secure, right? That's them being like an everlasting foundation. As vinegar to the teeth, and as smoke to the eyes, which is smoke to your eyes burns. Vinegar to the teeth makes it. It's kind of like when you eat sour grapes and your teeth are on edge. It's an uncomfortable feeling. But so is the sluggard to them that send him. So imagine trying to entrust a very important task to somebody that's lazy, that doesn't pay attention to it. You're going to be stressed out. You're going to be stressed out. Yo, you said I was supposed to deliver this to what 32nd Street? No, not 32nd Street. Where are you right now? Oh, I'm downtown. No, you were supposed to be in Jersey. And the person that you're supposed to give it to, they leave at 10 a.m. It's now 9:52. What the hell are you doing? It's stressful. It's like having smoke in your eyes. Okay, that's what it's like to send a sluggard or somebody that's lazy or slothful. The fear of the Lord Yahweh prolongeth days, because the fear of the Lord is wisdom, but the years of the wicked shall be shortened. So if you fear the Lord, you're going to live longer, right? In his wisdom, in his ways, because he'll protect you. But the years, the life of the wicked is shortened. Because think of it like this. It's not just that the wicked are it's not just that the wicked are straying away from the righteous path that will prolong their life, but they're also inviting the kind of judgment that's going to shorten their life. The way of the Lord Yahweh is strength to the upright, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. So when you follow the ways of the Lord and you keep the Lord's instruction, it's like strength, right, unto those that are upright. But destruction is what's going to happen. That's the fate of the workers of iniquity. The righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. So the righteous are like, they're going to be firmly planted, right? They're going to be established, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. And when you look at today, right, who is the wicked? The wicked is also applicable, which we know pursuant to Malachi 1 and 3, to Esau, Edom. And though they may have dominion of the earth now, they're not going to inhabit it because their time is going to be up very soon. Okay, and who the righteous here represent? Israel, or starting with the elect. He says, the mouth of the just bringeth forth wisdom, but the froward tongue shall be cut out. All right, meaning that the Lord is going to put a stop to their mouth, right? Which also symbolizes He's going to put a stop to them. Okay, but this is once again just a contrast between the righteous and the wicked. It says here, the lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh frowardness, because the lips of the righteous have wisdom to know what to say and when to say it, but the mouth of the wicked speaketh frowardness, right? Which is frowardness is perversity, contrary to righteousness. All right. And that brings us to the end of the book of Proverbs, the 10th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Raka Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.